go time. As I mentioned last time, each episode will focus on a different palace, along with whatever else I encountered that session. So, let's not waste any more time with the focus of episode 2, Kamoshida's Palace of Lust. I suppose first we should look at the intro. Persona is known for very stylized intros that fit the game's theme. The original Persona 5's intro, well, I just love. You got a glimpse at the characters, just enough to intrigue you as you ponder how they'll play their role in the game. Combine that with wake up, get out there, and you have a pretty good intro with a very nice art scheme. Royal's intro, I like just as much. The new intro song, Colors Flying High, is a great piece, and while the visuals don't leave the same amount of mystery as before, it still shows the characters and highlights the main selling point of Royal, the third winter semester. But we'll come across that when the time arrives. Before that, we have an opening segment and hot damn, it's still as awesome as before! You're thrown into the very thick of the action, as your protagonist tries to escape the feds, and good lord, Life Will Change is still an amazing song. But the clever trick of the opening segment is how it shows it's an improved version of the original. For one, more lines are dubbed over. While not every line in the game is voiced, more effort was put in, and you honestly should have seen my face when I realized it. With the great work the P5 cast put into their roles, it was great to see they haven't lost their touch. You could barely tell the difference between the new lines and the old lines. The new gameplay elements were also showcased right away, including the grappling hook, and of course the new party member, Kasumi. While brief, my interest was immediately piqued. The awesome thief design, her sweet voice, and the details dropped in the dialogue had my mind racing. Then we get captured. For the most part, the story goes down exactly like the original Persona 5. While I won't go into every detail, at least not in this episode, I'll go over the important bits because, oh boy, what a way to start your game. You play as Akira, or Ren if you prefer the animation's name. He's sent to Yoganjaya to live with Sonjiro Sakura for a 1-year probation. Just as he's getting used to the locale, his school suddenly turns into a castle. Awakening his inner self, his persona, he alongside a mysterious cat, or not a cat, named Morgana, start to form a rebellious group known as the Phantom Thieves to change the heart of their teacher before he and the other students are wrongly expelled. Now, I just summarized 10 hours into one paragraph, but there's a lot to unpack. The game takes its time to explain and ease you into the world of Persona 5. From how the game is played, to luring you into the locale and characters, it holds your hand until just the right point. You meet some of the major players in the story and get an idea of who they are, and what their own story might entail. You even get a glimpse of future characters that, while they don't play a role quite yet, will in the future. And while on-injecting new characters, Royale takes advantage of that by slowly injecting Kasumi bit by bit. You also see how other characters interact with her and still make it relevant to your current predicament. Low-key, first impression, I really like her, but I need more time and focusing at a concrete point. Okay? Alright then. I'll admit, the first time I played Persona 5, the starting hours hit me like a truck, if anything else for the plot. Persona is not afraid to get dark, despite the light tone it often has for comedy. It makes you aware you're in the real world, and the scenarios here are not to be taken lightly. The first palace alone has you deal with the egotistical PE teacher, Kamashita, who physically abuses his volleyball team, abuses female students emotionally and sexually, and even goes as far as to pursue a physical relationship with a female student, all of which drives one student to off herself. The game knows what it's talking about and rarely sugarcoats it. And while it's hard to stomach, even seeing that particular scene again made me feel unsettled, it enriches the story to strengthen your resolve and see the mission till the end. The fact that it could be so relatable also hits hard for players, making the first villain, one of the stronger antagonists of the game. But I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. To better explain and go into a bit more detail, we should look over the main characters for the Palace arc. Now, I won't be going into their confidants if they have them, just going by their relevance in the arc itself. And if there are any characters introduced but have more relevance later on, I'll be saving them for a future episode. So characters like Sojiro and Morgana won't get a mention here, but will in the future episode. With that said, Ryuji is the best bud of Persona 5, akin to Yosuke from Persona 4. He was there when you had your awakening, and man, I want to give this dude the biggest fist bump. He was a star athlete of the Academy's track team, but since Kamashita saw it as a threat to his own team's reputation, in other words his own reputation, he sabotaged their chances by insulting Ryuji's family and breaking his leg, claiming self-defense. The team was disbanded, and Ryuji was hence claimed a troublemaker and traitor through most of the school. The more time spent with him, the more you understand his frustration. Combine that with everyone going along with Kamashita's heinous actions, and it only adds fuel to the fire. If he sounds like a complete downer...
Does that mean you've got a phone?
Yeah, you don't have to worry about that. It's the bud of a beautiful friendship, even if you feel like you need to tape the guide right to his face sometimes. And I know what you're thinking, and yes, we're not completely done with going over Ryuji in this game, but for now, that's all I have to say for the first Palace with him. Appreciate while you can, while you still have it. Oh, Ann. Lady Ann, my heart hurt for you. Your warm optimism for those close to you, your personal turmoil for the sake of your friend, you were my first romance choice in the original for a reason. That and my stats were so low at the time. Oh, I'll touch upon that. Ann is the outcast of her school. Rumors of her and Kamashita together, driving mostly everyone away from her. The only friend keeping her sane at the school is Shiho. Ann reluctantly not speaking up to keep Shiho on the volleyball team. She's pushed to her limits when Kamashita demands Ann to get together with him, or Shiho loses her place on the team for good. That, alongside something I'll bring up soon during the villain segment, she finally rebels and vows revenge against Kamashita, truly understanding the vile man that he is, and no longer going along with it. Ann's story, in my eyes, can be seen as a cautionary tale. She's a supportive friend, so much so she doesn't care about herself as long as her friend is happy. While this is a nice mindset at first, it hurts yourself in the end, and even diverts you from the truth at times. In the end, Ann stands up not just for Shiho's sake, but for her own sake as well, since you can't support others unless you can support yourself. As someone who had to learn this the hard way, I relate to Ann and can understand what she went through. You do want the best for your friends and want to be there whenever you can. But, as I mentioned before, and it needs to be said again, you can't help others unless you help yourself. Something I'm sure I'll bring up in a future episode. Sorry, probably got a bit personal there. Moving on to... Oh no. Kamoshida. Suguru Kamoshida. Agreeably the most hated villain in Persona 5. Not in terms of being a bad villain, but for honestly being too good of a villain. He's a former Olympic champion who believes he can do whatever he wants because everyone covers him for the benefits. This leads to the previously mentioned types of abuse, even going as far as doing heinous actions against Shiho. I'd say what, but I'm pretty sure YouTube is already angry at me as is. This is scary enough on its own, but the fact it can happen in the real world is what horrifies people the most. all the more reason to change this wicked man's heart and end the king's reign. And I have yet to mention him leaking the protagonist's criminal record to the school, threatening expulsion just for not liking you. The dude should be placed in the ninth circle of hell with Lucifer and thrown into cancellation bucket with the rest of the trilogy! Just need to get that out there. Still mad about that. Even talking about him makes me upset. A fictional character can bring that kind of emotion out of someone. And all of his actions are for simply enjoying the power. I hate this man, and I will gladly take him down every playthrough. But before that, we might as well get into how to play in the first place. We have a lot to go over, so let's start with the basics. Persona 5 Royal could be described as a turn-based RPG / real-life sim / dungeon crawler / ow my head, is what you'll be seeing at first. The game has a lot of mechanics and it can be a lot to take in, which is why the game holds your hand for the first few hours. I won't explain everything right now, but I'll give you a gist of the main strategies you'll want to know. As the protagonist, you move from day to day going to school and being the good boy you're supposed to be. When you're done with school, unless the game forces your hand, it's up to you how to spend your time. The loading prompt does not lie. Take your time and think things through. Why, you must be asking? For your social stats, of course. You have 5 social stats, and each are important to strengthening your bonds. If they're not at a high enough level, tough mementos. Choose something else. Activities throughout the city, like studying, answering questions right, taking up a job, reading books, and so many different options level these stats up. So it's important to keep yourself in check if you want the future benefits through the confidant system. Confidants are the social links of past games, bonding with that Arcana's character to improve them or yourself. You get to know more about them and help them improve themselves, all while learning the importance of coffee beans. The more benefits you have, the better off you'll be, like special items in the clinic, or making tools for use in the game's special areas. They're completely worth your time, for the most part, but I'll happily wait for that time to come around. Oh, I can wait. These abilities and stats will help you in the second half of the game, the palaces. Palaces are massive linear dungeons where your goal is to reach the end, send a calling card, and defeat the boss before your time is up. You and your party of 3 proceed by solving the palace's puzzles and defeating the enemies along the way. But that's pretty basic, so Royal added a few new mechanics to change things up. First, some rooms were added in and some were changed around for a slightly fresh experience, so even players in the original will be caught off guard every now and then. The grappling hook was added as mentioned before, allowing more vertical movement in the palaces, and it just looks so cool to watch. I'm honestly excited to see what they do with the grappling hook moving forward with the different palaces. Also included are will seeds, 3 hidden in each palace. Collecting all 3 gives you a powerful item, but be forewarned that they are hidden, and you have to explore every nook and cranny to find them, or beat a powerful enemy to obtain it. Okay, I've mentioned beating enemies twice now. It's time to explain the mature version of Pokemon. Battles are turn-based, meaning you make one move before the next member, and when all moves are done, the enemy makes their move. But it's not as simple as press X to win. What do you think this is, Persona Hearts? Along with your basic attack move, you have your gun. Each member has their own gun, and its ammo refills automatically at the end of the battle, so there's no reason not to use it unless an enemy is strong against it. It's like deciding to use a controller for Duck Hunt instead of your zapper. You have it at your disposal, so why not use it? Enemies have their own strengths and weaknesses. You can exploit them via your gun or your persona. All of the party members only have one persona and one element, like fire, thunder, or wind. But you, as the wild card, can wield multiple personas and can use that to your advantage. Hit an enemy's weakness and you knock them down, allowing you another turn. From there, you can either attack again or pass to another party member, increasing their attack stat, which can be changed throughout the party, leading to, well, a really damaging attack. Should all enemies be knocked down, you can hold them up and bargain with them for money, items, or even their own power should you be successful in negotiating with them. or you can end it stylishly. No judging there either. Clearing the battle earns you experience, and when you have enough, you can level up, increasing your health, your stamina, and your other stats. Your personas also gain experience at the same time, and with enough experience, they obtain more moves. So keep them in your party as long as you get more moves, and it should be beneficial to you. If you want stats quicker though, you can always use your money and take a quick trip to the shop. At the shop, you're able to do a few things. You can buy melee weapons, buy ranged weapons, buy a protector for yourself for more defense, and buy accessories. The cool thing about accessories for Royal is that some even have a special bonus move, maybe a more powerful healing move, or an extra element you might not have in your party, which you'll definitely want to use if you like specific party members in your team. More on that when you get more of them. You can also sell any items you happen to obtain in the palace, so if you're tight on cash, don't be afraid to sell anything you don't need. You can also purchase healing items, either from the clinic when you get to it, or through shops around the town. So use them whenever you have free time and make sure you're ready for the palace. If you want the best advantage, you'll need to ambush them for the upper hand. Attacking them is fine, but whatever you do, don't get spotted. The enemy will surround you and raise the palace's security meter. If the meter reaches 100% at any time, you're forced out of the palace for the day, only wasting the precious time you have left. If you're worried about the security meter, all you have to do is ambush an enemy and clear the battle to drain the meter slightly. So as long as you play cautiously and don't get spotted, you should be fine. Use the cover spots around the palace to your advantage. Or you can do some clever hiding. Shadow Hide and Seek is one of my favorite games after all. But that's as much as I want to go into it for now. I know I missed some mechanics, but we have a long way to go. So I'll explain things like the Velvet Room and bosses in future episodes. If anything also updates, I'll mention that as well. The game is slowly evolving, and I'll be sure to keep up with it as well. Though, before we go, what did I think of the first 10 hours? Honestly, as great as before, if not slightly better. The game still looks and sounds amazing, the voice cast still bring their A game with the new dub lines, gameplay is still fun, and the story hits all the feels with all the hype still intact. If you're worried that Persona 5 Royal isn't for you though, but still want to give it a shot, I actually recommend picking up the original Persona 5. It's free on the PlayStation 5's Plus collection, or $20 digitally and physically on the PlayStation 4. You'll miss certain upgrades like the grappling hook and other Royal editions, but the original is still a blast to play through, so give it a shot should your curiosity pique. That's all I got for today's episode. Writing this script has probably been the toughest I've had to write yet. There's so much to talk about, and I hope I summarized and showed what I wanted in the best way I could. So, I hope you enjoyed the video, and look forward to the next episode. Until then, Phantom Thieves.